Before we begin, take a second to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, I bring you gripping stories filled with unforgettable characters, shocking twists, and emotional moments that will keep you watching until the very end. Now let's begin. People assumed I was just another housekeeper, someone hired to dust shelves, polish marble floors, and quietly disappear before dinner. To them, I wasn't a person with dreams, fears, or a past. I was simply part of the house. And that's exactly why no one noticed what I noticed. When you're invisible, people stop being careful. They argue in front of you. They cry when you're nearby. They whisper secrets they think you can't hear. For nearly a year, I worked inside one of the largest homes in Charlotte. The mansion belonged to one of the city's most recognizable couples. Their lives looked perfect from the outside. Magazine covers, social media posts, glamorous vacations, charity galas, everything about them screamed success. But perfect homes often hide the deepest cracks. My name is Carrie. I'm 29 years old, and before taking that job, my life had been painfully ordinary. I rented a tiny apartment, struggled to pay bills, and spent most nights wondering whether life would ever become something more than surviving paycheck to paycheck. Cleaning houses wasn't glamorous. It wasn't exciting. But it was honest work. When I received an offer to work full-time for the Shaw family, it felt like winning the lottery. The salary was better than anything I'd earned before. Health insurance, paid vacation, even a private guest room inside the estate whenever late nights made driving home impossible. I accepted without hesitation. The first time I walked through the enormous front doors, I felt like I'd entered another world. Everything sparkled. The marble floors reflected sunlight like mirrors. Fresh flowers decorated nearly every room. The ceilings seemed impossibly high, and every piece of furniture looked like it belonged in a museum instead of someone's home. There were 4 floors connected by a winding staircase, a glass elevator, an indoor gym, a movie theater, a wine cellar, and an outdoor pool that looked more like something you'd find at a luxury resort. It was breathtaking. But beautiful houses don't always feel like happy homes. I met the rest of the staff during my first week. Pearl managed the kitchen. She had worked there for almost 15 years, and seemed to know every secret hidden behind those expensive walls. Amanda cared for the children. She was patient, warm, and somehow managed to smile even after chasing energetic kids all day. Then there was Dustin, the driver. He joked with everyone and could make almost any situation feel lighter. Finally, I met the owners. Carrie Shaw was everything the internet believed she was. Elegant, confident, always dressed perfectly. She spoke kindly but quickly, constantly checking emails between conversations. Every minute of her schedule belonged to someone else. Brand meetings, photo shoots, television appearances, interviews. Her life never slowed down. Then there was Spencer. Unlike his wife, he stayed away from cameras whenever possible. He wasn't loud. He wasn't flashy. Most days he wore simple clothes, carried a coffee mug, and quietly disappeared into his office for hours. He always greeted every employee with respect. Good morning. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Simple words, but genuine. That surprised me. Many wealthy people treated staff like furniture. Spencer never did. Weeks turned into months. I settled into a routine. Wake before sunrise. Prepare the downstairs rooms. Vacuum the hallways. Organize laundry. Polish the kitchen. Repeat. The family barely noticed me. Honestly, I preferred it that way. Being invisible made the work easier. Until one morning, something changed. I was wiping fingerprints from the kitchen island when I sensed someone standing nearby. I looked up. Spencer. Coffee cup in one hand. Silence between us. For just a moment, our eyes met. Not accidentally. Not casually. Long enough for both of us to realize neither of us had looked away. Then he nodded politely and continued walking. It lasted maybe 3 seconds. But something about it lingered. I convinced myself I was imagining things. People make eye contact every day. It meant nothing. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. Yet over the following weeks, similar moments kept happening. Passing each other in long hallways. Working quietly in the same room. Brief conversations that somehow felt longer than they really were. Nothing inappropriate. Nothing anyone else would notice. Still, I found myself thinking about those moments more often than I should have. That worried me. I reminded myself of the truth every single day. He was married. This was his family. His home. My responsibility was to clean it, not become emotionally invested in the people living inside it. So I focused harder on work. The problem was, it became harder to ignore what was happening around me. The smiles between Spencer and his wife grew less frequent. Dinner conversations became shorter. Sometimes they spent entire evenings in separate rooms. Other nights she returned home after midnight from business trips while he pretended to be asleep. From the outside, they still looked like the perfect couple. Inside the mansion, silence had become another resident. One rainy evening, I stayed later than usual to finish organizing a storage room before an important event scheduled for the following day. Most of the staff had already left. The children were asleep upstairs. The mansion felt unusually quiet. As I carried folded linens toward the laundry room, I heard raised voices behind a closed office door. I wasn't trying to listen, but in a silent house, every word echoed. "We can't keep pretending everything is fine," Spencer said. His voice sounded exhausted. Carrie's answer came almost immediately. "We'll discuss this after the campaign ends. You've been saying that for months. My career can't stop because you're unhappy." "I'm not asking you to stop." "Then what are you asking?" The silence that followed felt heavier than the argument itself. I quietly walked away before hearing anything else. That conversation stayed with me for days. Not because I enjoyed knowing their problems, because it reminded me of something important. The glamorous lives people post online rarely tell the whole story. Sometimes the biggest homes contain the loneliest people. And sometimes, one quiet conversation is enough to change everything. The days that followed felt strangely different. Nothing dramatic happened overnight. There were no shocking confessions or explosive arguments. Instead, it was the silence that changed everything. Silence has a way of revealing truths that words often hide. Every morning, I arrived before sunrise as usual. The mansion was peaceful at that hour, wrapped in a calm that disappeared the moment everyone woke up. I prepared the breakfast room, dusted the grand staircase, and opened the curtains to let the morning light spill across the marble floors. From a distance, the Shaw family still looked perfect. But living inside the house, I had begun to notice the cracks. Mrs. Shaw was traveling more than ever. Some weeks she spent more nights in hotels than in her own bedroom. Her calendar was packed with interviews, brand launches, charity events, and luxury retreats. Every conversation seemed to revolve around business opportunities and social media campaigns. Spencer rarely joined her anymore. Whenever photographers arrived, he smiled politely for a few pictures before disappearing back inside. Their lives looked connected in photographs. In reality, they were moving in completely different directions. One afternoon I was arranging fresh flowers in the living room when I overheard another conversation. Not intentionally. The mansion carried voices from one hallway to another. "I'll be gone until Friday," Mrs. Shaw said while zipping her suitcase. Spencer nodded. "Safe trip." She looked disappointed. "That's all you have to say? What else would you like me to say?" She sighed heavily. "I miss the man you used to be." He answered quietly. I could say the same. Neither of them raised their voices. Somehow, that made the conversation even more painful. She walked out moments later without another word. The front door closed. The house became quiet once again. For reasons I couldn't explain, I felt guilty for hearing something that wasn't meant for me. That evening Spencer spent hours sitting alone in the library. The lights remained on long after everyone else had gone to bed. As I passed by carrying folded towels, I noticed him staring out the window instead of reading the book lying open in front of him. He looked lonely. Not angry. Not frustrated. Just tired. Over the next several days our conversations remained brief. "Good morning." "Thank you. Have a nice evening." Yet there was something different in the way he spoke. He seemed distracted, as though his mind was carrying a weight too heavy to put down. Pearl noticed it too. One afternoon while we were preparing the dining room, She quietly said, "Big houses don't protect people from heartbreak." I looked at her. "You've worked here a long time." She smiled sadly. "Long enough to know that money fixes many things." She paused before continuing. "But it never fixes loneliness." Her words stayed with me. The following weekend the children spent the day with their grandparents. Most of the staff left early. Only Spencer and I remained inside the mansion until evening. Rain hammered against the windows, turning the enormous house into an island surrounded by gray skies. A sudden power outage plunged everything into darkness. The emergency lights flickered on seconds later. I searched the storage room for flashlights. As I stepped into the hallway, I nearly bumped into Spencer. "Sorry," I said, stepping back. He gave a small smile. I should be the one apologizing. For the first time in months, he actually looked relaxed. We found ourselves laughing over something completely unimportant. The irony of such an expensive house losing electricity during a simple rainstorm. The laughter faded. Then silence returned. Not uncomfortable silence. The kind shared between two people who didn't feel the need to fill every second with conversation. "It's strange," he finally admitted. "What is?" "This house." I looked around. "It feels different when everyone leaves." He nodded. "It's so large, but sometimes it feels emptier than any apartment I've ever lived in." I didn't know how to answer. Instead, I simply listened. Sometimes people don't need advice. Sometimes they only need someone willing to hear them. He thanked me before walking away. That conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. Yet somehow it lingered in my thoughts for the rest of the night. The next morning life returned to normal. The lights were back. The staff returned. Mrs. Shaw came home smiling for a live stream with thousands of viewers watching. Anyone seeing the broadcast would have believed they were witnessing the perfect family. Watching from the hallway, I realized something. Social media only shows carefully selected moments. Real life exists between those moments. And real life is rarely perfect. Days later, another unexpected event shook the household. A valuable antique watch belonging to Spencer disappeared. The entire staff was questioned. No one accused anyone directly, but the atmosphere changed instantly. Trust gave way to suspicion. Every employee wondered who might be responsible. The mansion no longer felt like a workplace. It felt like a room filled with strangers. Even simple conversations became cautious. Pearl barely spoke. Amanda looked nervous. Dustin insisted someone from outside must have entered the property. Security cameras were reviewed. Schedules were checked. Nothing made sense. Then Spencer surprised everyone. "I don't believe anyone on this staff stole it," he said firmly. His confidence caught everyone's attention. Mrs. Shaw disagreed. "We can't ignore the possibility." "I'm not ignoring anything," he replied. "I'm choosing not to accuse innocent people." His words eased some of the tension, but not all of it. Later that evening, while organizing shelves in the study, I noticed something unusual. A small leather notebook lay partially hidden beneath several documents. It wasn't mine. I reached toward it, then stopped. Whatever was inside belonged to someone else. I quietly placed the papers back exactly as I'd found them. Some secrets aren't ours to discover. But as I turned to leave, I couldn't shake the feeling that the notebook held answers to questions no one had asked aloud. Outside, thunder rolled across the Charlotte skyline. Inside the mansion, another storm was only beginning. None of us knew it yet. But before the week was over, one unexpected discovery would force every person in that house to confront a truth they had spent months pretending not to see. And from that moment forward, nothing inside the Shaw mansion would ever feel the same again.